So, Commander, you're ready for the 5th season of Star Trek Discovery?
Sure am, McCluck.
I heard it's the last season ever.
It is. Unbeknownst to the production team, the execs cancelled the show after all the shooting was done, so they had to do some rewrites and reshoots to give the show a proper send-off.
That doesn't bode well.
It's been a very uneven show throughout its run, but I'd say the 4th season was among its best.
Unlike the 3rd, which was so dire.
Shall we get back into it by checking the reviews for the 4th season?
It's fun to go back so early in your review career. You were still finding your paws back then.
Ah, yes. A time when you selfishly reviewed shows all on your own.
Except for my cameo in one of them.
Yeah, the formula was still being worked on. You can even see a slow evolution as that season progressed.
Fascinating.
Let's hope our viewers agree with you, Mouse.
So, is everything ready?
Sure is. All reviews reformatted for the widescreen.
With no lost footage?
Not this time.
Ha! Well, wonders never cease.
In which case, there's only one thing left to say.
Engage!
Hey, Commander Fennec here, and let's talk about Star Trek Discovery's season premiere, Kobayashi Maru. Obviously, this is in reference to the Star Trek Academy test, which introduces cadets to a knowing scenario. Well, unless you're James T. Kirk, of course. I don't like to lose. The story starts with Burnham delivering dilithium to far-off worlds, which leads to an amusing misunderstanding, despite the threat involved. Even though the resolution was a good group effort, why didn't Burnham and Booker just beam away? We see Burnham 5 months into her captaincy, clearly comfortable with the role, but the moment she feels threatened, she does a Riker.
Shields up!
I thought the scenes between her and the Federation president were very interesting and might hopefully lead to something good this season. But the main thread this season is the realization that yet another galaxy-wide disaster is looming, with tragic outcomes to emphasize the danger and the personal stakes. Again. I'm awarding Kobayashi Maru 2.5 paws. Hey, Commander Fennec here, and let's talk about Star Trek Discovery's Anomaly. This story mostly deals with trauma and grief, which Discovery is no stranger to. We see Booker having to deal with the events of the last episode, while the crew try to understand the nature of the anomaly. One thing I was most disappointed by was the conflict that had developed between Stamets and Burnham last season appears to have been resolved off camera. But Stamets' beef is now with Booker. Somehow, there was less of a sense of threat to the characters in this episode than last time, even though the stakes were just as high, and I must say the zero-G effects were ludicrous. I did enjoy the callback to Picard's android body, marred by a lazy explanation as to why no one has such a body in the future. What stretched credibility, though, was how Burnham became a surfing expert to save the day, even though the one who came up with the idea and had experience in the matter was Commander Bryce. I'm awarding Anomaly 2 paws. Hey, Commander Fennec here, and let's talk about Star Trek Discovery's Choose to Live. If you watched the first season of Picard or saw the previous season of Discovery, you'll know Choose to Live comes from the Coat Melat, the absolutely honest and ruthless Romulan sword-wielding nuns. But Choose to Live is about more than that saying, and applies to many characters on board Discovery. Despite some action, this is definitely a character-driven story. There are many threads to it, involving many characters on separate missions, which could have made for an unsatisfyingly convoluted mess. And to be fair, I wonder if some could have benefited with a little more time. However, somehow it all hung together, and was surprisingly satisfying. Elves with swords, as the Coat Melat really are, were a tough sell in Picard on the eve of the 25th century. They're an even harder sell in the 32nd, but as that's the direction the showrunner wants to go, it did kind of work this time. I'm awarding Choose to Live 3 paws. Hey, Commander Fennec here, and let's talk about Star Trek Discovery's All Is Possible. In true Star Trek fashion, this episode is split into multiple parts, although more unusually, what happens in one thread does not affect the others. We have political intrigue on Ni'Var, an Academy training crisis, and Booker dealing with his trauma. But despite the fact we essentially were witness to 3 mini-stories, none having anything to do with the main season arc, it proved to be a very enjoyable episode. I found it to be well written, and I even found there was a good logical reason for Burnham to be the catalyst for a positive resolution. David Cronenberg, aka Dr. Kovich, makes a welcome return, and we see the positive yet delicate attempts at rebuilding the Federation. There's even some radical change for one of our characters, which in a way was not unexpected. All in all Is Possible was a good episode, fully in the Star Trek mold, and I'm awarding it 3.5 paws. Hey, Commander Fennec here, and let's talk about Star Trek Discovery's The Examples. Unlike the last time, the 3 story threads are well interwoven, and although enjoyable, it didn't really make sense. For instance, why conduct a potentially dangerous science experiment in the middle of a rescue mission? Would it have not been better to conduct said experiment on a base away from all the action so as not to put the rescue mission at risk? Despite this, the new characters were interesting to watch, and I particularly liked the excellent scene between Drs. Kovich and Culber. Book and Burnham's mission was the least plausible though, not the reason for the mission, but the character beats, especially of one guest character. I'm okay with their final decision, but they kept something for decades supposedly to honor a person, and yet, had it been given back years earlier, it would have honored that person more, and they would have known that. Made no sense to me. I'm awarding the examples 2.5 paws. Hey, Commander Fennec here, and let's talk about Star Trek Discovery's Stormy Weather. Our intrepid crew tried to find answers to the mysterious phenomena which is plaguing the galaxy by following it in its wake, but solving this puzzle isn't really the main focus of this episode. Ever since Season 2, Discovery has been host to a developing sentience when they acquired data from a dying alien wanderer, and the episode is actually all about her. It's not something we havenent seen before. Think HAL 9000, but more the 2010 version than the one from 2001, or even Data from the Next Generation, as he learns to deal with basic emotions. The difference here is that Data never let his emotions get in the way of his duties. Zora has always been an interesting concept. She was pretty much wasted in the Season 3 finale, so hopefully the writers will get a better handle on her going forward. We also witness a lot of little character developments, and I guess we'll see if or how they progress over time. I'm awarding Stormy Weather 2.5 paws. Hey, Commander Fennec here, and let's talk about Star Trek Discovery's But to Connect. Well, this is one interesting episode. No action, no explosions, just really pure Star Trek. An exploration of what it is to be sentient, one's values, how they define us, the balance between retaliating in fear and approaching in careful expectation, and accepting the consequences of one's decisions. This episode is on par with some of the greats throughout the franchise's long history, which explores the very meaning of being human. Discovery has come a long way from its troubled yet interesting first season, and Burnham almost doesn't feel like the same person who got convicted of mutiny so long ago. In fact, this change is even referred to in this episode. The various threads all worked on this theme and were all pretty satisfying. Even the weakest one brought something relevant to the table. Coupling all of this with a pretty effective cliffhanger, and I'm very happy to award But to Connect the full 4 paws. So, how much would you sacrifice for a course of action you hope is right? It took me a while to get back into the story. A 6-week gap right in the middle of the season is a heck of a hiatus, especially since the story carries on immediately from the last episode. A new location helps ease us back into the action, and an oddly charismatic alien facilitates this as well. But in the middle of a tense situation, it just dawned on me. Remove all the sci-fi elements, all the callbacks to previous shows, all the incredulous events. This is an episode about love and loss, and what some are willing to sacrifice for their belief and their compulsion to see it through. It was a powerful moment, which brought the Galactic spanning thread into sharp focus by making it so personal. It's tragic really if it goes down the way I suspect it might. Heck, even the one making the sacrifice realized the full implication of their decision, yet still carried on. I'm awarding All In 3 paws. A conflict where you kind of root for both sides. Now that's a tricky thing to pull off. Hey, Commander Fennec here, and it's crunch time for Book or Burnham. I like a story when the two main characters are evenly matched, as it makes for very interesting viewing as actions may or may not go according to plan in a very gratifying way, as we see in this episode. The will they won't they tension is very satisfying, as it isn't certain almost till the end who will get the upper hand. Book, Burnham, and the arrogant and brilliant scientist Tarka all behave as you'd expect them to. Some of the side characters feel like they're just given some conflict to act out, just like when they're given needed abilities to make it through a particular scene, as we've seen a number of times before. I always find it frustrating when that happens. Despite its flaws, I feel this is some of the best writing this season, and I'm awarding Rubicon 3 paws. Isn't the galactic barrier supposed to give you super telekinetic powers if you go into it?
Really?
Hey, Commander Fennec here, and we're back to the galactic barrier, first seen in the second pilot of the very first Star Trek series with Kirk and the gang. But if you expect a repeat of that episode, you'll be disappointed. Most of the time is spent with Discovery trying to get through. It should be a really tense moment, but somehow the events that took place back in '66 felt more tense and ominous than what we experienced this time. Thankfully, the writers manufactured some tension with a sudden and imminent deadline, giving our crew more reason to succeed, and fast. It felt like not much was going on. On the plus side, There's some good character moments, especially with Suru and surprisingly Tarka, where we see more of his backstory which he already hinted at previously. It's a mixed bag really, so I'm awarding the Galactic Barrier 2 paws. Is there ever going to be a time when Burnham's deadline-defying hunches backfire? Hey, Commander Fennec here, and with time running out before billions of lives are in danger, we're off exploring a non-known planet. If you're aware of the historical Rosetta Stone, you'll understand the meaning of this episode's title. There were some very interesting sci-fi concepts, including the reveal that Species Ten-C will be unlike anything we've encountered, and this particular Rosetta Stone was quite original, I felt. The side story with Book and Tarka wasn't as interesting as last time, and considering the vastness of space, they found themselves at the right place a little too conveniently if you ask me. It also felt like there was a lot of padding, with a lot of time devoted to the crew's feelings and the odd backstory when we're supposed to be running out of time. And that's just it. It's that sense of urgency and impending doom that's missing. We've only 2 episodes to go and I just don't feel it. I'm awarding Rosetta 2 paws. How do you communicate with a species vastly different from your own? Just ask the dolphins. Oh wait, you can't. Hey, Commander Fennec here, and if you enjoyed The Abyss and especially The Arrival, you'll likely appreciate the process and the imagination dedicated to trying to communicate with Species Ten-C, a race unlike anything previously seen in the Star Trek universe. For me, this was a fascinating part of the story. It's not really a spoiler to say that they do manage to find a way to communicate, albeit a little too fast. But I guess that's the price you pay for the string of very drawn-out episodes that came before. There were a lot of good character moments too, most of which were interesting, like learning that Book has a lot in common with the dread Pirate Roberts. But these snippets do slow the pace. Everything just feels too laid back, and this has been a running theme this season. I want more tension in my Armageddon. I'm awarding Species Ten-C 3 paws. Those old BT commercials were right. It really is good to talk. Hey, Commander Fennec here, and we've reached the finale of Discovery's 4th season, and really, you couldn't ask for a more Star Trekan resolution. Negotiation, resolution, and understanding trump aggression and violence. The episode was also a team effort with multiple crew members working together to achieve their goal, which is much better than Burnham being the principal savior almost every episode. Discovery's main focus keeps beyond loss, trauma, and overcoming it all in as positive a way as possible, when the odds are against you, but also when you have time to reflect upon it. Okay, it's not perfect. There was a moment where I thought, wow, they went there. I was shocked and impressed at the same time, only for them to reverse that decision. That's cheap, man. But on the whole, this was a good finale, and I'm awarding Coming Home 3.5 paws. Share your thoughts in the comments, live long, and may the Force be with you.